So you can see the slides, hopefully, and I just wanted to give you a very warm welcome to everyone. So thanks very much for joining us in the webinar tonight. We've got some amazing content and some great value to share. So before we start, I just want to make 3 promises to you that you're going to get from tonight's webinar. And number 1 is I'm going to make you an offer about our 2-day training, okay? It's a fantastic 2-day event, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about that as we go through the webinar. Number 2 is I'm going to give you an insight into the current market for investing in HMOs right now and where we see the opportunities, okay? And number 3 is we're going to share some tips that you can take away and implement tonight straight after the webinar. So whether you've got an HMO business or whether you've just got a property business, I'm sure you're going to find those things valuable. So a little bit about myself. I've been a property investor and investing in HMOs actually since 2013. So at the moment I've currently got 54 rooms. I've got a 6-bed HMO in development. I've also got a couple of rent-to-rent deals in the pipeline. I've got a 5-bed HMO going through legals as we speak. So you might have heard me on some property podcasts. I've featured on a few property podcasts. I've written articles in the YPN and the HMO magazine. So I've been involved in property for a long time. I've got a family-based property business in Southend and Sea. How about yourself, Wendy?
Thank you, Ian. So I know I've met many of you before, but just to give you a little bit of a précis on myself, I started investing in HMOs seriously in 2013. I built up a portfolio of over 36 HMOs. We have a lettings business now that manages our HMOs and a few of other landlords. I've got a pub in Stoke-on-Trent. I have a portfolio of single buy-to-lets as well. And 90% of my property I have developed using other people's money. So I've done it, and I can explain to you how you can do this too without using your own money. I've written a couple of books about HMO, Amazon bestsellers as they happen to be, and I write regularly in industry magazines. So between us, Ian and I have a wealth of experience, the good, the bad and the ugly when it comes to HMOs, and we're here to help you whatever your next step might be in the journey along financial freedom with HMOs.
Brilliant, Wendy. Thanks very much. So tonight, let's have a look at what we are going to cover. So there's the property power team there. So obviously Wendy and myself joined forces to create HMO Success. That was 12 months ago. So Wendy obviously operates in the southwest of the country and I'm in the southeast of the country. So I'm the northern man in the southeastern branch of HMO Success. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to be covering the current state of the property market. The key word in business, which I love so much, is cash flow. So why cash flow is so important in any business, and more so right now. What we think the outlook of the property market will be in the coming 12 months. And if you're thinking right now, well, what challenges am I having in my business? Well, there's lots of challenges we've had too, and how we've overcame them. But as an overview, we're going to be talking about viewings and sourcing opportunities, how we deal with builders and refurbs, and how we've been managing our tenants, and obviously cash flow as well. And most importantly, how you can actually invest in your own learning too. So you're in for a real treat. So sit back, relax, have a cup of tea, and I'll just tell you now why investing in HMOs, I think, is so important. So I've spoke about this for a long time actually, but the actual savings rate pre-COVID was pretty poor anyway. So what I like to do is invest my money in an asset that I can benefit from the cash flow every month. So my capital is protected in the deal, and I get interest every month, which I live off of. So, there's obviously poor pension provisions out there. We're going to have to be, unfortunately, working longer. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking I look remarkably fresh-faced, but I'm actually 47, and at the minute, the government I've got plans for me to retire at 67. So whether that actually happens, now if you're listening to the webinar tonight and you've actually got any children, I've got a 6-year-old daughter, and the great news in store for her is that she's going to have to work till she's 72 to actually get a pension. So one of the reasons I invest in property is to give my kids and my family the freedom and choice that they don't have to do that. People having to work longer, well, again, we don't want to be doing that. So this is a great one. My dad, he is now he's just about to turn 70. And, you know, what he's saying to me now is, son, you know, I wish I could roll back the years, make the most of it while you can. And I think it's very pertinent right now that, you know, money can be replaced, can't it? But obviously time can't. So one of the reasons we invest in HMOs and why it's so important to invest in HMOs is so that you can buy back your time. And that's what I like to do. I'm going to be sharing with you as we go through the webinar what myself and Wendy are doing to buy back some time, and obviously you can do the same too. So let's just have a look pre-COVID, what was going on in the world and the economy in general. So pension crisis for millions. I was actually in the fire service, and I left in 2011 to start my property career. And back then they wanted me to pay in more, work longer, and get less. So you might be sitting tonight listening to this and thinking, this resonates with me. The problem is only going to get bigger, isn't it? So the pension crisis was here pre-COVID, and obviously people are getting very poor returns in their pension. So let's just have a look during COVID now. So what's happening during COVID? Well, naturally, we're locked down, aren't we? But, you know, lots of people been furloughed. The Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, was on talking that, you know, we're going to be facing, you know, a pretty significant recession. In June, they're going to stop some of the furlough pay. And then if you look at the large, you know, kind of employers in the large industries throughout the UK and indeed in the world and the economy in general, it's going to be pretty severe. So Rolls-Royce, you know, laying off 9,000 jobs, British Airways, EasyJet, Ryanair, all the businesses prior to that as well going bust. So a lot of businesses, you know, have fallen through the cracks, and things are probably going to get worse before they get better. So after COVID, what is going to happen? So we're saying here that here's one of the headlines, that the UK faces a 35% economic slump just from the lockdown alone. So that in itself is going to be massive. Savings as well, soon to pay less than 1%. So if you've got money in the bank right now, you're going to be losing money on it. So again, if you've got HMOs and your capital is protected and deployed in a property, you're getting a far better interest return than you're going to get in the bank. We're talking about, you know, people not having jobs, unemployment's going to rise. In fact, Wendy, I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this, she actually showed me one of her savings accounts. I think it was from Halifax the other day, and our interest rate's been slashed to 0.01%. So that means if you've got...
It has, it's depressing.
If you've got 10k in the bank right now, you're going to be getting something like 85 pence interest per month on that money. So think about that. 10 grand right now, sat in a savings account, 85p a month. So your savings aren't going to be making any money in the bank. And this, for me, just plays in perfectly why this is now a great opportunity to invest in HMOs. So tonight, what we're actually going to share with you is looking at HMOs and the opportunities maybe in a little different light that you've maybe not been used to looking at before or thinking at before. So this is why we believe that now is the right time. So in any recession, loads of businesses have thrived In fact, there's probably some teenager sitting at home right now designing the next billion-dollar business that's going to come off the back of COVID-19. But effectively, the opportunities that we are seeing are that landlords that were thinking about retiring, they are obviously, this is forcing their hand, and they're wanting to offload their portfolios. They're wanting to offload their properties. We've obviously got Section 24, which has come in now, so the 4 years of it been phased in, 25%, 50%, 75%, that's fully in. And a lot of landlords are deciding, because their tax bills in the 31st of January there were higher than they've ever been, they've decided to exit the market. So what does that actually mean for us? So we've got fantastic opportunities that we can pick up deals. I find, in our mantra, myself and Wendy's, is that we do our properties to a high standard. So there's always going to be a demand for high quality rooms. A lot of people say, oh, HMOs, these rooms are sticking. And when we do a bit of research, the photographs are terrible. They might be done up with some magnolia. They're done to a poor standard, and these rooms sit in the middle of the market. So if you can go for the high end of the market, then demand shouldn't be an issue. Now, money as well has never been so cheap. So the interest rates at the minute are, as a rock bottom for a saver, but it's also a fantastic opportunity if you're a property investor. So there's loads of cheap money out there. So if you know what you're doing, using other people's money as well, mortgages are only a small part of what myself and Wendy do. We've built portfolios using other people's money. So we've both raised 7 figures in private finance. That is what we're both good at doing. So right now, if you are an educated HMO landlord, loads of people are scared of legislation. There has been some changes over the last couple of years in legislation, but where it positions us as experts is we know exactly what we can and can't do. And when you have that knowledge, effectively, you can obviously springboard and scale your business faster than people that, maybe don't have the education. So think about this tonight. It's a lovely summer's evening. Loads of people are probably out having their evening stroll, and here you guys have jumped on the webinar, and you're willing to learn some new things and find out a bit more about educating yourself in HMOs. So fantastic time to just say, right, what am I going to do? Knuckle down, start up a new business, or try and bring your business to the next level. So to further on, why now is the right time? The population, it's only getting bigger, isn't it? And we're not building any more land, and it's set to increase. And there is, so to give you a flavour of Essex, obviously where I invest in the southeast of the country, they want to build 400,000 homes a year, and they're currently 360,000 short of that. So, this challenge, if you like, which creates an opportunity for us, this challenge is throughout the UK. It's in every county and every town in the UK. And what actually COVID has done, it's slowed the housing market down, hasn't it? So when lockdown lifts, myself and Wendy think that demand for rooms will increase. Obviously, rents will continue to increase as well. And quite simply, we're not building enough new homes each year to keep pace with demand. So if you've got some HMOs coming on right now, and people might be thinking that they're going to downsize and save some money, then I think that we're going to see a surge in HMO rooms after lockdown is lifted. So, one of my regrets is not going to be having multiple income streams, and it's the same with Wendy. So when COVID kicked off, if you've got a good number of rooms, so to give you an example, 50 rooms for me in Southend generates around £25,000 a month. You should never be in a business each month that starts from zero. So in an HMO portfolio, it never starts from zero. the chances of all your tenants moving out overnight are pretty slim. So you've actually self-insured and got yourself some serious multiple streams of income. So I like 5, 6, 7 streams of income coming from one property. Fantastic strategy. That's why we're here tonight and why we love it. So here is the formula for success, for HMO success, that both Wendy and myself have. Wendy developed this, to be fair. Need to give her some kudos here. And we both use this in our own businesses to, you know, how to find deals, fund them, fill them, finish it, future-proof the deals as well. So obviously tonight we don't have enough time to go through all the 5 steps. We will be touching on a couple of points and a couple of steps. But if you want to look into the 5 steps in more detail, then of course you need to come on our fantastic 2-day training where we deep dive into all this. So at the minute, I've got quite a lot of deals going on, and obviously we delve into that in the finding it section, and then as well as that, after it, it's how do we fund it. So using other people's money, as I said before, you know, not using mortgages is just a small part of what Wendy and myself do. So the 2-day training, we deep dive into it all, into the full 5 steps. So I want to show you now a typical HMO 5-bed, okay? So this is a deal in Southend, and I feel that I should add for some clarity tonight that everything that I'm showing you now is actual deals that I own personally in our portfolio, or deals that I've control on a rent-to-rent basis. So all the figures are real. They're not made up. All the deals are real as well. So this is a typical HMO 5-bed. The gross rent is £3,000 a month. So you might want to write that down. Take a photo of the screen. So how we'd get that calculation is we divide it by the 5 rooms, and that means it's £600 per room on average, okay? So some rooms are higher, some rooms are lower, but as an average, it's £600 a room. So we normally average £100 a room for bills, so we minus £500, we minus the mortgage you'll see here, or rent. So I could be doing a rent-to-rent deal. We take off some voids and some management money and put that into a separate account. And you'll see here that the cash flow from a typical 5-bed HMO is around £1,200 a month. So just think for a minute, if you're thinking about getting into HMOs, how many of these would you need to kind of change your life? So just have a think about that for a second. So maybe you want to put in the chat panel, you know, how many deals like that you would like. So would you like to see this particular deal on steroids now? So again, this is just changing the thinking. So let's just go down here, look. So the same property, okay? And this same property has been let to a company. So you'll see here that the gross rent is $4,500 a month. This is a real live deal, okay? So what that equates to is £900 a room. And you might be thinking, wow, £900 a room in Southend? Excuse me, well, I can tell you that that is the God's honest truth. So that's a real deal I'm doing and have been doing for the last couple of years. So minus the bills, £500. Again, mortgage and rent and voids management, it's all the same. But look at the difference in the bottom of the screen there. So 2,700 cash flow. So how many of those would you need to change your life? So just for a bit of context, I was in the fire service. I served 9 years as a fireman in Essex. And that deal there was double what I used to get paid for running into burning buildings. So one deal effectively could be job replacing income. So these deals are out there. You just need to know what you're doing and how to get them. So it's like, how do you get into the deal? How do you get into the companies? How do you fill your rooms? So one of the things that I specialise in is looking into getting companies and filling the rooms before I get the properties. A lot of people go out and get the properties first. I try and find the demand first, and then I get the property. So a little bit different how I do it. So let's just talk about The Perfect Storm. No, it's not a film by George with George Clooney in it. Maybe some of you have seen it. But The Perfect Storm right now is there's going to be a surge in room demand as people downsize. And we've all, both Wendy and myself, have already seen this in our portfolio. So we've actually let a room today, and the couple don't move into June. So we did a virtual viewing and we've got that room away for £750. And they want to downsize to save money. And it's a huge room as well, to be fair. So I feel, and Wendy will agree, that there's going to be less competition due to FEAR. What does that stand for? So it's false evidence appearing real, isn't it, for fear? So at the minute, there's lots of fear, I'm sure you'll agree, in the media and the news and sensationalist journalism. But in the last 9 weeks, I think, we've been 9 weeks in lockdown, I've probably generated, the first week was terrible, don't get me wrong, because, we had, with people leaving and we had some properties empty, but we've managed to refill them again. And actually, due to this fear, I've added an extra 5k cash flow into your business going through COVID. And obviously, a lot of landlords are exiting the market. And I'm saying, look, if you've got an HMO and you're struggling to run it or struggling to fill your rooms, give it to me. We can take it on. Agents right now are struggling to make ends meet. So why is that, do you think? And obviously, tenant fee ban came in 2019, so they can't charge obviously some fees now. Right now they're shut. They've just been allowed to reopen, and viewings have been a challenge as well, haven't they? So they've actually not got a lot of things going for them. So you can become your agent's best friend. I think right now is definitely going to be the perfect storm to be picking up more deals, certainly below market value, and rent to rent. And why I love rent to rent is it's a scalable business. So at the minute, I'm actually doing about a deal a month in rent to rent, and you can scale that. So if you're doing one a month and you're even averaging £1,000 cash flow, 12 deals later, you've got a serious income coming into your business. The last point there, so businesses, they're going to take a little while to readjust. So a lot of businesses taking bounce back loans, a lot of businesses with staff furloughed. But if you're a lean, mean fighting machine, you've got a systemised business, the opportunities that are out there right now and coming out of COVID is just going to be unbelievable. And the reason I'm telling you this is not me speculating. This is me telling you what I'm actually doing. I'm seeing success in these areas right now. So I'm giving you real on-the-ground experience of what myself and Wendy are doing. We speak to one another every week, and some of the opportunities we see will blow your mind.
Ian, do you mind if I just quickly jump in there for a moment? So we've had a question about your room rates, which is about £600 a month, equates to about £139 a week. Is that fairly standard for your area?
My rooms, I get about £650 a room, so it's a little bit higher.
Right.
Okay. Than 600. The reason I'm using 600 for an en-suited room in Southend, the kind of average is about 600. The reason I get 650 is because my rooms are a bit higher quality.
Great. Okay, excellent. And the other thing is that I know that some people are saying, well, if there's going to be an economic downturn and there's going to be unemployment, don't you think that you'll not be able to rent to professional tenants anymore? What would you say to somebody who's thinking, I would have invested in HMOs, but now this has all happened, no one's going to have any money, so no one's going to rent any rooms?
That's a great question. And well, at the minute, just for an example, we don't have anyone not paying. So none of our tenants aren't paying in our business. And there's loads of different models that you can do. Actually, could I answer that question maybe as we go through the webinar, I think
course.
I'll give you the answers to that without giving the game away.
Yeah.
If you can just bear with us for about another 15 minutes, I'll tell you what I think. So yeah, I'm actually turning it on its head right now, so it's pretty good. Any other questions, Wendy?
No, that's fine. Sorry, I muted myself so you couldn't. I was speaking, you couldn't hear
No,
me.
no,
No,
that's perfect.
That's all for now. Thanks.
Right,
Ian.
okay. So hopefully that first little insight is giving you a flavour of what's to come. So would you like to see what an HMO actually is? Yeah, you're all sitting with bated breath. Would you like to see a jaw-dropping property in Southend? So what is an actual HMO? Well, let's just have a look. Let me just pull the cloak off right now. There you go. There's a typical HMO in Stoke where Wendy invests and in Southend where I invest. So, yep, a cash machine, multiplying your income. So in the last 8 years, that's all HMOs have done for us, and we think that they will continue to do so. And the reasons for that, I'm going to reveal in a minute. But let's have a look at a typical deal just to give you a flavour of some of the deals that we do, okay? So there is a fantastic jaw-dropping property. Yes, you may be wondering what that wood is over the windows, wood chip windows, just fantastic jaw-dropping 1920s Victorian property in Southend. We bought this off a retired HMO landlord back in 2012 or 2013. I think he wanted to sell up and retire to Spain. So we gave it a little makeover. As you can see here, it's looking a little bit better. I'm sure you'll agree there's a massive improvement there. And let's just have a look inside. So this is why I get a little bit extra for my rooms, because we do them up like high end. So the marketing's good, the professional styling's good. This is my sister, incidentally, that does this. I'm not taking any of the credit for that. And then we like to just create that wow factor. So nice clean lines, signature feature walls. Loads of people now are actually doing this. So I've had to change to something else. You've got to keep evolving to stay ahead of the market. But just look at the marketing. So if you look in the worktop there, you'll see a cafetiere there and some fresh carrot cake and a bowl of oranges on the table. So why do you think we do all that? And that's just to create that lifestyle. So when someone looks at your pictures or your video, they can imagine themselves living there. You'll be surprised when you look on Spare Room at some of your competition that it's been shot in an iPhone and there's an undressed bed and the screen's very dark. But as I say, that room, for example, that's £700. That room's never been empty from the day it went live. And these are the rooms that kind of go first as well. So the big rooms at the front, these are the rooms that go first. So these are some of the purchases. Just wanted to share with you what it looked like. So here's some of the numbers. So the rent achieved is $3,250 as an HMO. Now, to put some context on it, the market rent for that property is around £1,100 or £1,200. So if you were to buy that house and just manage it as a single let, you'd be getting £1,100 or £1,200. So imagine you're just buying the same property and you're turning it into an HMO. There was no real structural alterations to the property. We just put fire doors in the rooms and put in a new boiler and a fire alarm. But look at the actual rent achieved as an HMO. So $3,250 divided by 5 is $650 a month. We actually bought that property for $213,000. We spent $100K on it, and as you can see there, we left $80,000 in the deal. Now that $80,000, important point here, does that have to be your money, or could it be someone else's money? So if you're sitting there thinking, well, how would I get a mortgage, or how would I get the money to do an HMO deal like this? Well, believe you me, from putting out fires to raising millions in joint venture finance, you can do the same. So the monthly profit there is £1,400. and we own the deal. So great property, great legacy, great pension. No one can take it away from you. So I think an important point to share here is the time frame that it took to do this deal. So normally, if you're going to do a back-to-brick refurbishment like this one, and put it high end, so including finding the deal, getting a mortgage on it, raising the finance, getting a builder, doing the refurb, going through the 5-step system, then refinancing it, normally takes around 20 to 24 weeks, so around about 6 months, all right? So if you were doing this and trying to do it at speed, the kind of speed, if you're going to do a back to brick, is typically kind of 5 to 6 months. So right now, would you agree, looking at that statement, would you say a general or quite a high percentage of the population are saying right now that opportunity is nowhere? What would you think? Do you think so? Hopefully you agree with me that everyone's sitting there, maybe not you guys because you're on this webinar, but a lot of people, I'm sure, are sitting at home thinking that there's no opportunities out there. And it's all how you look at it. So we look at our HMO business and think, how can we maximise the opportunities that are out there? So let's just look at the text with a different set of eyes, okay? So opportunity, so the same sentence, look, I've just broken the words down. Opportunity is now here. So it's all how you look at it. It's all how you view it through your eyes. It's a mindset thing. And we just look at it and think, well, what is the opportunities? In every market, there's opportunities. So whether you're in a rising market or a down market, there's always opportunities. Your job as a property investor, as a property problem solver, is to find those opportunities, all right? So again, touching on some of our 5-step system, which again, I don't have a lot of time to go into tonight. There's too much depth and detail. We do cover it, as I said, I'm telling you again, in more detail in our 2-day event. But effectively, what I do pretty well, and to answer Wendy's question from earlier, I know someone asked when people are losing their jobs. So right now, there's opportunities out there renting HMOs to companies. And obviously renting HMOs to housing associations. So you might be thinking, well, how do I do that? So there's opportunities with your local councils, and your job is to find out what those opportunities are. So right now, there's massive opportunities throughout the UK in every town and city with housing associations. They'll take the HMO off you. They may even lease it off you for 3 to 5 years. I'm finding there's massive demand, and you just need to find it. So at the minute, I can fill loads of rooms to the council, and this is just another niche strategy. So I'm niching down. I've got professional tenants, I've got social tenants. You're getting paid directly from the government, and you very, very rarely have any voids, and you've always got income coming into your business. So remember, I shared earlier about never been in a business that starts from zero every month. Well, HMOs are the icing in the cake, believe you me. So would you like to see how we do a little bit quicker than the 5 to 6 months? So this is what I love about rent to rent. Scalable deal. I love this deal. What I would ask you to do is go into our HMO, Ultimate HMO Success Facebook group tomorrow. And I'm going to put a 5-minute video up of the actual property itself. So I've did a little video for you, and I'm going to be sharing it in the group tomorrow. So here's the lowdown on it. Okay, so the landlord wanted to run it as an HMO, but when COVID came along, he thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to rent the rooms out, and he wanted hands off without the hassle. So who's heard of Facebook Marketplace? That's one of my marketing strategies. So I was on there looking in Marketplace. I saw that he wanted a guaranteed rent, and I arranged to have a viewing with him via a WhatsApp video. So I asked him if the property was available, asked him for his contact details. We set up a call. He recorded a video, sent me it. Then he sent me floor plans, which we looked at. And then I negotiated the deal via a Zoom call. Imagine that. So locked up at home, and imagine agreeing a 5-bed HMO deal from a landlord that was scared to do business. So I've taken that property on, and if you want to log on to the Facebook group tomorrow, into the HMO Success Facebook group, I'm actually going to post the video and I'll give you a little walk round as a treat. Okay, so let's just have a look at the numbers. So the gross rent in this one, this is in a different area to what I normally operate in, okay? So it's about 18 miles away from my normal patch. The gross rent's 2,750. We divide that by the 5 rooms, that averages out 550 per room. The rent to the landlord actually is a little bit higher than some of my mortgages. But let's have a look at the numbers. Because I have filled it and I'm working with the council on this one, I've literally no voids. So I've put down £100 for maintenance, and I'm actually handing this over to an agent to manage for me as well. So it's someone I know. So it's 15%, but the great thing for me is it's hands off. Now I'm actually going to make £1,000 a month off this actual rent-to-rent deal. Now this deal, start to finish, it'll have taken me around about 4 weeks. So that's why I'm not boasting when I say I'm doing one of these a month. If you know what you're doing, if you work with myself and Wendy, and you want to train with myself and Wendy, I can teach you how I do this and how we do this. We cover this in our 2-day training. And this for me is the fastest thing to getting yourself out of your job or doing something else with your life that you might want to do. So I'm going to pause now, take a drink, and I'm going to hand you over to my partner, Wendy, and she's going to take us through the first bit of the 5-step system. So over to you, partner.
Great, thank you. Are you all right to still move the slides for me?
Yes.
It's probably easier rather than me sharing my screen. If you can do that, Ian, that would be great. Thank you. So one of the promises that we made to you tonight is that we would share with you our 5-step system. It's very simple, 5 Fs. I'm sure you've heard us talking about it time and time again, but it's very powerful because it's like having a formula. If you have a formula to do anything with, you can rinse and repeat it and you can scale your business. One of the problems that I see with a lot of investors is that they start and they throw themselves in and they get very involved in the business and they put lots of energy and time into it, but they can't scale. So our mission is to help you get results from HMOs and to get results from a number of HMOs, whether that's 3, 5, 10 or 15 or even more if you want to. But in order to scale your business, you have to have a system. So this is our 5-step system that we use. We can't go through everything tonight, as Ian has already said, but the find it section, I think, is something which we are adapting because of COVID-19. And this is a question that's come up already this evening. How do you do this with COVID-19? Well, at the moment, I believe it's very important that we develop our leads and connections even more. You've probably heard it said that your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth. Who do you know? And the way that both Ian and I have managed to get deals over the last 6 weeks is by networking, online, meeting people. We are actually going to see a landlord on Friday in Stoke who has a large commercial building that he can't sell, but he needs to sell. So we're in discussions with him about doing a lease option and a conversion to either an HMO or a series of apartments in this particular building. Now, that particular landlord came across my path because he saw what I was doing on social media. He saw who I was, what I did, and he connected with us. And I think this is a great time for us to utilize the time that we have at home, to leverage that, to build our connections, to build our network. The second point is However you are sourcing, at the moment it's difficult to do viewings. Some estate agents in our area have actually started to reduce their lockdown, or their if you like, their sort of barriers to doing a viewing. So I had an email from a local estate agent that I bought a few properties from today, saying that they're putting PPE in place. They're arranging, when we do a viewing, we can do it in person, but we also have to wear PPE and we have to socially distance. And they're bringing hand sanitizer as well. So they're doing it belt and braces, which is great. So viewings, I believe, are starting to open up now, but some estate agents are a little bit more cautious than others. So you need to keep an eye on your area to see who's doing viewings. With the kind of properties that Ian's been looking at, many of them are already empty. So that's really helpful. And this is often where you'll find the deals, is in those empty properties where you can go and do a viewing of that property. The landlord is very keen to work with you because, of course, it's empty, so they're not making any money, and they want something secured quickly. And this is where, of course, creative strategies come in. So the fundamentals are the fundamentals of the deal. And I'm going to share with you a couple of tools that we use in a moment to really assess that deal. The one thing you don't want to be is a motivated buyer. You want to find motivated sellers or motivated people who will do deals with you. And if you get too excited about a deal because you think it's going to give you lots of money, which is exciting, but you can forget the fundamentals. So remember the fundamentals of doing a deal. And finally, I think during this time, we can be clever about the way we send messages to the marketplace in terms of our marketing. So we can do push and pull marketing. So what I mean by that is, push marketing is when we're sending messages out to the marketplace, either through social media or through letters or through emails. We can push our message out to the marketplace, but we can also pull people into us. So have you considered, for example, having a system whereby if people want to contact you, you've got a separate mobile phone line set up, and you could have a VA or you could have an answering service taking that call so that you can free up your time to do something else. Now, interestingly, this picture, which is of a property not far from where we live, we invest in Crewe and Stoke-on-Trent, and this is a property in Crewe. This is from Open Rent. Now, you might know that Open Rent only will advertise landlords' properties. So this was a specific landlord property that came up for Open Rent, and it would make an ideal HMO because I know the area and I know the kind of layout of the property. And a friend of mine sent this to me and said, Wendy, you must look at this because this would make a great rent-to-rent deal. So we've contacted this landlord and we're trying to work out a bit of a deal, but I don't want to be a motivated buyer. So we're taking it slowly. Something might come off. Watch this space. So there's a couple of tools which I think you need if you're going to do this. One of them is our deal sourcing spreadsheet. So this doesn't just tell you how to analyze one particular deal, but it actually gives you an overview of the market in your area. So we've created this over the last 3 years to enable you to put in postcode areas, types of property, range of property prices, and to gather some really key metrics about your local area. And we go into detail about how to use this deal sourcing spreadsheet on our 2-day class and our 2-day event in the Finding It section, because we really think it's important that investors understand the difference between the macro and the micro when they're analysing an area for HMOs. The second tool you'll need is a deal analyzer. And the deal analyzer looks at the numbers of the deal. So how much is it going to cost you to buy it? What's the price of the refurb likely to be? And how much money will you make at the back end? The real figure that most people are interested in is the cash flow. How much money can I make from this property every month? If you know that before you even start to negotiate, it puts you in a much stronger position later on. So this comes under our Finding It section. And you can see there that I've just highlighted it to explain at a very high level that these are the pieces of the jigsaw that make up the 5-step system. And these are all the pieces that our clients learn and they use to grow their portfolio. We're called HMO Success because we want you to get successful at HMOs. We like to be successful at HMOs as well. And we have made some mistakes. We have learned ourselves along the journey. But the key thing for Ian and myself is to make sure that anybody who comes to work with us gets results. We want you to use the system to get results. And this is a simple system that anybody can learn, you can apply it, and you can get the same kind of results that we're getting. So I'd like to share with you a bit more about our 2-day event. Ian introduced it at the beginning of the evening, so I'm not going to spend too much time because we've still got other content that we want to share with you. But you might be at the point of your journey thinking, I'm really hitting my head on a brick wall. I know I'm consuming great content. You might be on the Facebook group. You might have read my book or listened to the book. You might have consumed a lot of content already, which is fantastic. But maybe now you're feeling that you need something that's a bit more personal. You need something where you can come along and have your questions answered. I mean, already tonight I've been answering lots of questions, which is fantastic. And it shows that you're motivated. It shows you're committed to your own growth and learning. Now, our 2-day event is a very special 2-day event because this is the first time we are launching it brand new to be online. So these are the dates. So please do write them down or take a screenshot. 30th and 31st of May and the 27th and the 28th of June. Because we are live streaming those 2 dates, and we know that it's going to be the weekend, so we know that for some people that's going to be awkward with families. We're also, again, for the first time ever, giving a full recording of the 2 days. So you'll get the full recording of the 2 days as part of your ticket price, and you will get a free in-person ticket to an event later in the year. So when we do run this in person, and I'm not quite sure when that's going to be at the moment, you'll get a free ticket to that event. So we've really tried to give lots and lots of value here to enable you to make that decision. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the little shortcut, which I can put into the chat panel as well. And that little shortcut takes you to the payment page. And I'm going to just put it in there. It needs to be in capitals, by the way. It doesn't work if you put it in lowercase. The HMO intensive needs to work only in capitals. So it's bit.ly/HMO intensive. So the price for the 2 days is £600 plus VAT, but you'll get the 2-day full live streamed event. You'll get a full recording after the event. So you can go back and re-watch the sessions and remember the bits that you've forgotten, or fill in the gaps that maybe you weren't paying attention to at the time, or your child was distracting you in the background. Oh boy, I've had that a lot the last few weeks. And you'll also get a free ticket to an in-person event later in the year. So that is what the screen will look like, the HMO intensive screen. That's the payment page. And if you scroll down, in fact, yeah, Ian, if you put up the next slide, I think the next slide shows you the PayPal button, and you can make payment there at the bottom of the screen. So on that 2-day event, we go into much more detail about the 5 steps, and we talk about the other more important aspects of building a business, such as how to systemize it and how to raise finance from other people. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about that as we go through tonight. We've got some more great material to give to you, some really great strategies and some other fantastic deals. Before we do that, let me just share those 2 days. What you get 2 days of inspiring and educational content. So we know that without knowledge, you can't have confidence to go out and apply your learning. So you'll study real deals. All the deals that we're showing you tonight, we have actually done. These are real deals that are live, that we have tenants in, or we're about to get tenants in. We'll give you all the practical tools and the methods so that you can get started. And one of the areas, I suppose, that we're maybe slightly different from some training companies is that we like to work with people on a personal basis. So we'll take time during those 2 days to check in with you, make sure that you're getting your questions answered. And if you have a specific query or a question that's going to take some more time, we can go into a breakout room and we can work with you individually. Now, as far as I'm aware, there are very few training companies that would do that. So we do that on our 2-day event in person, and we're going to emulate that in the cloud this time. We're going to work with you to overcome a financial hurdle, so work with you on a finance plan, share with you the creative strategies that you need to know, such as rent to rent, but there are many more and they are very exciting, so that you can do this with little or no money. We also want to share with you the trends in the market. Where do we see the market going? And how can you best take advantage of that? And how you can stay ahead of your competition. Now, as I said earlier, our key is to help you get results. So I just wanted to share with you some of the stories of people that we've worked with who've come on our 2-day event and what's happened after they've left. So within 10 days, Charlotte raised £150,000 in private finance to do her first 5-bed HMO. She turned that around in about a year, paid the investor back. He re-lent her the money. She now has 5 other properties. Sue and Dave, they came on our 2-day training, and within 2 months, they had bought 2 more HMOs and they'd reduced their time in their business by 70% because they'd implemented the systems that they'd learned on the weekend. Ethan came on our course, and within 3 weeks, he'd filled 100% of his empty rooms. He had about 12 empty rooms at the time, making him another £3,000 per month income. So where Ethan was investing, he was finding it a struggle to fill his rooms. And he found that by coming on our event, this was key to helping him make more money. Eric, within a month of attending, had sourced a commercial to residential HMO. So this was a big project up in Manchester. And because of the confidence and the tools that he had, he literally went out the next day and started a network. And within about a week, he'd found a great building. He liaised with the vendor. He did a deal with the vendor. And this HMO, which is, he's done it in stages because it's a very big building, is going to be making him £4,500 per month income. That's not gross income, that's net cash flow from one building. And Sarah, who came on our course last year, at the end of last year, she found her ideal HMO within 6 weeks, put in an offer, and has already started the process of refurbishment. So we've got some great results for people because we believe that education is great, but actually it's action that's needed. And if you don't have the right support to give you faith in the process and to enable you to create an action plan, then you won't do it. So just to remind you of the dates, 30th and 31st of May, so that's in about 2 weeks' time, 27th and 28th of June, £600 plus VAT. We can't claim that there is scarcity on the numbers because we can have as many people as we like, but we do actually have a special offer for those of you who are interested in this a little bit later on. So that's the link. If you're interested, that's the link to click, but we've still got some great content. So I'm going to hand now back to Ian.
Sorry, I just had to unmute myself there, and let me just start my video as well. So hopefully you can see me, but anyway, you shouldn't be looking at me. You should be looking at this lovely jaw-dropping property. As you can see, we like to buy them in a pretty run-down condition in Southend and gradually bring them back to life, repurpose them. It's one of my favourite passions. So if I could just share with you, that was it before. You can actually see there that, you know, the new windows have went in. What do you think of the external fire escape here? I'm sure you'll agree. Lovely feature, isn't it? So where we're looking at this table here, this was actually the downstairs bathroom. So we obviously cut a bigger opening. We put a Velux window in for light. We got the kitchen from Howdens. I'm sure you'll agree. It looks a little bit better than what it did. And obviously the reason I get fairly substantial rents for our properties are the fact that we turn them into en-suites, and they're very, very nicely styled and professionally dressed as well, and photographed. These are the little USPs that give you a competitive edge. This is a business, ladies and gentlemen, so if you want to make this your business, you're better setting the bar high and doing it the right way. So these rooms, you know, touch wood, They've flown out the door. I've always done particularly well. This room we thought was a little bit darker blue than what we're normally used to. Would you believe I did a block viewing for this. This was last year actually when I got this property let. Did a block viewing for this property, and would you believe I had people fighting over this room, which is unbelievable. So let's have a look at the numbers again. So the purchase price is around 250,000. You can still pick up some deals around here for that sort of money. Again, doing the back to brick, putting in, knocking out chimney breasts, putting in en suites, future-proofing it. I like to spend the money and future-proof that asset so that it delivers month on month. People want to go and live there, and you want that thing to just keep doing the cash machine and punching out that cash flow every month. So I've actually refined this into a bit better process now, using a lot of Wendy's systems, which is fantastic. And the room rate on this actual particular one was 630, and the cash left in the deal was 60,000. And again, I'll tell you a little bit later how I actually did that deal, but I look for a return typically on the capital employed in the kind of plus 20s. In fact, here it is here. Let me just tell you about it, seeing as we're on the deal. So this was an actual vendor finance deal. So if I quickly just fly back to here, just so you can get an outside view. So see the red paint there that you can see on the side. So this is an end terrace house. This bit of brick here is actually a bricked up alleyway. So these two houses aren't joined, but the one on the left hand side is mid terrace and this one's end terrace. So I actually went to this vendor approached me and he said, look, I want to get rid of I want to sell the two properties. And I said, look, how quick are you looking for the money? And he wanted to sell one per year so that he could maximise his capital gains allowance each year. So what I call this a vendor finance deal. If you're unfamiliar with vendor finance and creative strategies, as Wendy said, we do go into this in more detail on our 2-day event, but as a quick overview, the actual property that I showed you with the ladders outside, I actually took control of his property via what's called an option agreement. So I carried out the works whilst covering the seller's costs, and the seller's costs, would you believe, were his mortgage and his council tax and any bills. So I was paying for this property, wait for it, £400 a month. So I paid £400 a month to effectively rent this off the seller. And then I done the refurb, and when I got it revalued at the end as an HMO, the vendor get paid. So effectively he financed the deal for us, and I've done that twice. So if you again are sitting there at home thinking, well, how can I do these deals? I don't have money, I don't have a mortgage. Well, effectively you don't need to. You just need to open your property solving toolbox, put your creative strategy hat on, and both Wendy and myself are renowned for taking control of properties under creative strategies. Rent to rent, purchase lease options, option agreements, vendor finance, other people's money. There's loads of them, and we're pretty experienced at doing this. I think between us, we've got close to kind of 200 rooms. So I've got a few deals under control right now. So if I can do it, you can do it too. And if you join us on our 2-day training, of course, I'll be deep diving into that. Funding it, the financial foundations, we cover that on the training, and using other people's money. So it's normally hyphenated for OPM. So how can we add massive value to our investors? So right now, if you know someone that's got a Halifax, HSBC, Santander account, they've had a letter through the door saying that their savings and they're getting 85 pence a month, I'm sure you're going in and saying, look, I need a deal. I've got a deal going on, and if you can help me fund it, I'll give you many, many times greater return than you're going to get in the bank right at this current minute. So people are going to be literally biting your arm off. Now, Wendy very kindly shared some fantastic stories from some of our students who have been successful over the last kind of 12, 18 months. We do have private mentoring clients, and actually today I was on a mentoring call this morning with one of my mentees, and she was pretty nervous about what was happening about COVID. She had offers in 4 houses. As Wendy said, there's not many other training companies that go to, you know, your patch, if you like. We'll visit your patch and go and look at deals with you, go to agents, look at HMOs, look at potential properties. So she was pretty nervous. I looked at 13 properties for her. We agreed that 4 of them would work. She offered on 4 of them. She was pretty twitchy, pretty nervous, a bit unsure. And she said, look, what will I offer today on this? Because the vendor's circumstances have changed and they need to get this deal over the line. And I said, look, why don't you just put in an offer and knock another 10 grand off it? And she said, are you kidding? And I said, no, stick in another offer and knock another 10 grand off it. She's like, but what if they say no? And I said, look, the worst they can say is no. So she actually came on tonight. She was all excited that she'd managed to save 9 grand. So she got another 9 grand off the deal. So if you are sitting there right now feeling unsure, then this is the kind of support that Wendy and myself can give you. This is why you need to work with us. We can help you get these deals, negotiate on these deals, save money, add massive value, create collaboration. So using other people's money is how Wendy and myself have built our portfolio. So without further ado, let me introduce you to another case study. I don't know if you've noticed that we like to call our properties names. And the reason for that is once you get to a certain number, it's pretty easy to send your handyman to Airport Apartments because he'll remember where it is. If you say 123 Acacia Street, normally he can't remember where that is. So when you get to a set number of HMOs or properties, it's worth putting a name to each of them. So this one was Airport Apartments. It's on a corner plot. You'll be surprised to learn it's a minute's walk from Southend International Airport. Here is it with a little minor makeover. So on the left here, it did have a double garage. We've knocked that away. We've built a 2-storey extension. We applied for 7 bedrooms on this particular property, and we got knocked back from the planning department, and they only allowed us to do 6. So without further ado, we thought, well, what do? Do we go home and cry, or do we just roll up our sleeves and keep pushing on? So I think the goal in any business, you're going to get these knockbacks and challenges, and as Rocky Balboa said, it's all about the hits that you can take, and you've just got to keep moving forward. So here is the property in the kitchen. Lovely Howden's kitchen again. Beautiful bit of tiling from the tiler. This is one way to fall out with your tiler, and that's to ask them to change the shape of any metro tiles. So our tilers, when we phone them, they give us the old, sorry, the number is busy. So as you can see, we've got the 2 ovens, 2 hobs, 2 extractor fans. We put smart televisions in our room. This is the latest concrete effect furniture, large en-suites, desk, laptop station. So we do them up a little bit like a hotel room. You'll see this remote control line on top of the chest of drawers there. That's actually the Alexa voice control. So if you're coming to view a room right now, I'm pretty confident that our rooms are the best in the market. And when you're the best, you never fail to attract customers. So how are we creating a win-win on these deals? So latest 6-bed, all ensuite HMO. Now, the sting in the tail here was that this actual property had 24 weeks planning delays. So going from a 7-bed and back to a 6-bed and all the faffing around with the planning department to get it passed. But pleased to report that with this property is now generating our highest room rates to date. And this is all down to doing the USPs that I've spoke about and the professional marketing. So if you're waiting 24 weeks, well, that's very get rich slow. So the reason I do rent to rent as well is because I can scale. So I've got rent to rent deals happening, I've got purchases happening. So what I like to do is every month have a kind of property lined up and dropping. So if you've got any planning delays, you've got something else in the pipeline that's boosting your cash flow. So finishing it, I'm just about to hand you over to the fantastic Wendy once again, and I'm sure she knows the gentleman in the picture there. So Wendy, over to you.
Yes, he looks a little bit strange there, doesn't he, like an alien. So that is my better half, Andy, who runs our projects, and that's him down at a local building site. So this is a 5-bed HMO that we are converting at the moment in Stoke, and this project was on hold for a few weeks because of lockdown, but as soon as the government gave advice to the construction industry to say that they could go back, our builders were very keen to return. So people are thinking, oh, you can't do anything. You can't find HMOs during lockdown. Well, I think we've proven to you that you absolutely can. People will say, oh, you can't do the refurb. You can't finish them during lockdown because you can't get builders. Well, you absolutely can. As long as builders are socially distancing, which is what ours are doing, it's working fine. There are a few challenges, and I won't lie to you that sometimes finding materials has been the difficult area that we faced. And so our builders have had to be a bit creative about where they've sourced items from. But actually, they've been able to do it really well. And this will probably be one of the fastest refurbs that we have ever done. And I think that just goes to show that when you have a building team who are working with people who are also focused and want to get a project completed, and also when the building team doesn't have 3 or 4 other projects on the go, they are motivated to finish it, and because they want to get paid, of course. So I think this is a really good time to be building relationships with builders who are keen to work. So there's a few things that I think you should still do, even if you have a motivated builder and a hard-working builder. We've got a weekly planner that we use to plan the work out week by week, and I'm going to share with you a screenshot of that in a moment. You need to keep building your contact database and list. So this is about having that network that's going to give you those contacts. So if you do have a difficulty, for example, one of the problems that we've had is getting a good furniture supplier to fill the rooms with furniture, to do the furniture pack. And I was messaging Ian about this, and he said, oh, I've got a contact that can do it for you, Wendy. No problem at all, because they were still open to trade. So that was brilliant. But there may be other things that you need that are a little bit more specialist. So having a great contact database is incredibly useful for that. So in this time, as ever, who do you know? Who is it that you know who can help you to get this done? One of the things that we sometimes feel is that we get the fear from the media, and the media says, you can't do anything. It's impossible to move forward with your business. You're never going to rent the rooms. As Ian referred to earlier, false expectations appearing real. And yet we're proving completely the opposite, that you can do this even during COVID-19. Sorry, Ian, if you don't mind sliding down. So this is our 16 Weeks to Success personal planner. So this is a week-by-week planner that plots out the full 5-step system. So it'll describe to you exactly what to do step by step on each of those 5 steps. It's incredibly helpful because if you're brand new to HMOs and you haven't ever set one up before, there's quite a lot to think about. So how do you make sure that you've applied for the license at the right time? How do you make sure that you've got the building's compliance certificate? How do you make sure that the plumbing's going in at the right point in the refurb? The 16 Weeks to Success will enable you to do that. And that is our personal planner. We also have a budget and costings master sheet. So again, if you've never done a refurb before, this gives you a fantastic guide to prices that you'll probably be charged per square foot, per square meter, and for individual items within your HMO. Now, you might be thinking, but Wendy, these are all great tools and I'd love to have them, but how do I get them? Well, just hold on. I'm going to share with you how you can get them. Let me give you another example of one of our students who's had massive success. So this was Mick. He was a full-time investor and a dad. I think he had 5 children actually at the last count. So he was a very busy guy. And he came on our 2-day course because, again, he had been actually just made redundant from the local council where he worked. And he had a little bit of money to invest from his redundancy. And he was concerned about his future income. Now, I've spoken to many people over the last few weeks, and one of the big regrets they had is they didn't do this sooner, because COVID-19 has hit and they haven't had an additional stream of income to give them security and to give them another source of cash. Well, Mick did this about 18 months ago, so he's already ahead of the game here. And this is what he said. He used my system to find the right property in the right place and to rinse and repeat it. And that very first HMO that he found is now making him £1,600 a month profit. And that's fully managed in Stockport, which is South Manchester. And as a result of what he learned on the course, he's now got a pipeline of deals worth over £600,000. And that includes the investor finance to complete those deals. Now, the third aspect is filling it. So how do you fill your rooms during COVID-19? Well, let's be clear, tenants still need to move. The government has now released that initial advice, which is that nobody should move. They're now saying, actually, it's okay for people to move as long as we use safe social distancing. So your advertising still matters. If you can put across a great message about your rooms, you will still get tenants wanting to buy your rooms. What else can you offer though? Are there things that you can do in addition to helping those tenants choose you over and above the competition? One tip I would give you is lead funnels. We found it really successful having a lead funnel. So having something which you can give away as a freebie, maybe a guide to renting your HMO or a guide to renting HMO rooms in your particular area. Put that on Facebook, put that on LinkedIn, use social media, and you will have this pull attraction, this energy that will get tenants to come to you so you don't have to chase them. Now, we've had 20% increase in viewing since we told people that we were still open for business, because a lot of agents have either closed down, shut up shop, or gone home. But because we haven't, we found that our rooms have continued to rent out, and we've used PPE for staff, and we've ensured that all the areas are deep cleaned regularly. So we're still filling our rooms and having great occupancy levels. None of our staff have been furloughed. We haven't had to take any mortgage holidays. And to me, that demonstrates the fact that this is still possible. You can still do this. You can still run a very successful, profitable HMO business if you do it correctly and you are creative about finding solutions. So this is the government guidance that you've probably seen. Some of it has slightly altered since they first produced this in March. And initially the government was saying, don't move unless absolutely necessary. That has now changed. And I think this will mean that tenants will probably stay slightly longer in properties because they're nervous about moving. So I think our occupancy lengths are going to increase, which is a very good thing. And tenants are being told they still have to pay rent. So all those questions about how should a tenant pay rent and my tenant stop paying rent, on the Facebook group, I've given a bit of guidance this week about how to deal with that. And you may want to refer to some of that material. But in a couple of sentences, what I would say is this is a business. It's not a hobby. If you treat it like a business and you grow it like a business, you will make profits out of HMO. If you can show a responsibility for managing that property well and either working with the agent or working with a member of your staff team, you'll be able to get rents in from tenants. We found there have been some tenants who've been reluctant to pay rent, but actually with a little bit of a prod and a poke, they've realized they can't get away with it and the rents are now coming back in. Now, I said to you I'd share how you can get hold of these fantastic tools that we've been developing. And many of these tools are ones that we use day to day in our business right now. They're absolutely current. And any time that we tweak them or adjust them or have to alter them, you get an update. So all our tools are fresh and brand new and relevant for today's marketplace. So this is our HMO starter pack, and in it contains all our IP, our intellectual property. You get a copy of both of my books, and I know some of you already have those, but there you have another bonus, 2 more books for your bookcase. You get a full pack of information about how to start, scale, and systemize your HMO property business. And you get a whole load of additional tools as well. So what do you get? in this killer HMO starter pack, where the R has dropped off the end, you'll get the step-by-step weekly activity schedule, the deal analysis toolkit that I shared with you earlier. You get a project planner system. So if you've never done a refurb before, that's part of the starter pack. You get those costings master sheets. So you can look at prices and look at refurb costs for your particular part of the country and know that they apply. We give you a full tenancy pack. So if you are going to rent the rooms yourself or you're doing rent to rent, you've got all the legal information there that you need to set up your tenancies correctly. We'll share with you our tool, which is 7 creative ways to add maximum value to a property. So if you're going to do a refurb, what are the things that you can do to add maximum value to that house? We're going to give you 3 HMO case studies that you can then copy and model, which means that if you're going for a smaller HMO of, let's say, 4 bedrooms or a mid-sized one or a bigger one, whichever one of those is applicable to your particular situation, you've got case studies there to explain how to do it, to make it happen. We've got a cheat sheet on how to choose a great HMO agent, because not all agents are the same, are they? And you know, not all letting agents can rent HMOs. So what are the things you should be looking for in an HMO agent that will set them apart from the rest? And we also give you, and this is actually something we've only added to the kit this year, a virtual assistant toolkit. So for many of the people who work with us, they want to systemize their business. They don't want to replace their current job with another job, which is an HMO manager. And I didn't ever want to do that either. But I found about 3 years ago that I was working really hard, long hours in the business, trying to maintain the rooms, manage the maintenance, and it all became a bit too much. And it was only through systemizing the business that I now am in the position of working about 2 hours a week on my business, not in the business. And one of the keys is developing a team. So your virtual assistant toolkit is a great way for you to get started leveraging your time and your money. Now that HMO starter pack, we have sold it for £600 plus VAT in the not too distant past, because it contains a huge amount of quality information, tools and systems that you can literally plug and play into your HMO business. Each of the 5 steps is covered, and there is a guide that we have produced, and that comes with the pack to show you how to use all the tools. We also have teaching videos, which is on the USB that you get with the pack, to show you how to use the tools as well. So it's a fantastic starter pack to really get you off the blocks if you're not sure what you're doing with HMOs. Now, I talked to you earlier on about HMO Intensive. I'm not going to tell you much more about those 2 days, except to say that we have a special offer tonight. So you've seen the dates, you know the price is £600 plus VAT. We're also going to give the first 5 people who register for that training a killer HMO starter pack absolutely free. So as well as getting the 2-day full live streamed event, the full recording, a free ticket to an in-person event later in the year, which we're very much looking forward to, you'll also, for the first 5 people who register tonight, get that killer HMO starter pack in the post. We will send that to you before the event, so you have all of the tools at your disposal before then. So again, that is the link there to make sure that you register. And when you've paid for your ticket, our VA, our program manager, will be in touch, and she will find out which of the dates you wish to attend. So whether you prefer the May date or the June date. If you register and pay for your place, we will then contact you to ask you which of those dates you would like to attend for the live streamed event. Now, I see that Lucy, I think, has signed up, which is great. Or she's just signed up maybe to the Ultimate HMO Success System Facebook group. That's great. So we will be sharing a bit more information this week on the Facebook group as well. So if you need to go away and talk to a partner, or you want to go away and think about the dates and the organization, that's absolutely fine. We will still be here. And these are some pictures of the live events that we run, where we have an awful lot of interaction and fun, and answer people's questions and really get to the nub and the heart of how they can make this strategy work for them. So we would love it if you were to join us on one of those 2 dates in May or June. We'd love to have you there with us. So that's just another screenshot of what it's going to look like. When you go through on the bit.ly link, you'll see the Buy Now button. So click on the Buy Now button, it'll take you through to PayPal, and then you can make your payment either on credit card or on PayPal. So this was Charlotte, who I referred to earlier on. Charlotte had no time. She had 3 young children, no money and no experience. And this is a testimonial from Charlotte. She said, after working with Wendy and Ian on their 2-day event, I learned exactly how to approach an investor and raise funds for my first HMO project. I simply couldn't have done this without their guidance and advice. That property is now making me £1,500 per month. Thank you both so much. Really great story from Charlotte. So that's us done this evening. That's myself and Ian with our cheesy grins. We'd like to give you some time, though, to ask questions before we finish for this evening. So I know that we've got a few questions in the group, and I've been madly trying to answer some of the questions while we've been going through, but there's more to come, Ian. So
Great.
Just to say, this recording will be made available. A couple of you have asked me that. We are going to send a recording out once it's buffered and uploaded. We'll just edit some bits of it as well. We'll take out some beginning and the end bits, and then we will send you a recording of tonight's webinar, so you can have that to look at and to learn from. So okay, so that's that one.
I actually couldn't look at any of the questions, Wendy. Whatever happened, all I had control of was the slides.
No worries. Don't worry. We'll sort. Zoom doesn't always work terribly well on a Mac. I found PC tends to work better because it seems to work better with Chrome. But I think you and I need to have a bit of a technical catch up sometime. That doesn't matter. The main thing is the content, isn't it? The main thing is the content.
Exactly.
Now, we have some questions here. So Daniel was asking, is this price per business or per person? Really good question, Daniel, because you and Thomas are working together. So we do a buy one, buy second ticket half price deal. So if you'd both like to come, it's buy one, get the second one half price. So that's just to answer that one. So you can get the second one for half price. Karen, so you have en suites but not kitchenettes in yours. Really good question. Ian, we had a question earlier on about, I think it's Karen actually asked this, about council tax. Now, are you concerned about the council taxing your rooms individually? What's your...
I'm not. It's a great question, actually. We haven't been individually banded. I've not heard a lot of people in the South East being individually banded, but it is the valuation office that do the banding. And if they do, then, you know, in the tenancy agreements, it's something that's payable by the tenant. Now, you might be able to raise your prices a little bit to, you know, absorb some of the shock of that. And if they do band it, there is talk that it's going to be band A, which is the lowest band anyway. So I've really not got any fears about it. Like any business, I quite often use this analogy. Why are the SAS the best fighting force in the world? That is because they adapt and overcome. So as property investors, we always need to be looking to how we can adapt and overcome. So no, it's a great question. The answer to it is we haven't been banded, and if we do, we'll get round it by, you know, increasing our prices, or you know, as I said, it's down to the tenant that's actually living in the room that's got to pay it anyway. So again, it's a bit of fear. A lot of people have got fear around it, thinking, well, I won't do up my rooms high end in case I get my rooms banded. So, you know, ultimately, I'm not going to let that stop me.
And so if I just give you my perspective, in Stoke recently, we saw a couple of cases of people who had got council tax applied to their rooms. Now, those were big developments, big commercial developments where they had done big HMOs, and also they had put kitchenettes in them. So in terms of our rooms, we have en suites in a lot of our rooms, but not kitchenettes. In some of the rooms, we do put in a little bit of work surface with maybe a microwave and a kettle. So we give them a little bit more of a kind of amenity facility. But actually we don't put in the full kitchenette, because it's often that which causes the council to then contact the valuation office to say, actually, we think this room is habitable and really should have its own council tax banding. And I think that's where it's tipping over more. Now, it's not true that in all parts of the country that's the same. I know I've got a friend who invests in Stevenage, and Stevenage has started to do individual council tax bandings for the rooms. So I think it's worth putting in your due diligence. If your area is going to be charging for individual rooms, you need to know that before you make a decision to buy a property in that area.
Great point, Wendy.
Okay, right. So there's some other questions. Okay, so the Ultimate HMO Success System Facebook group, it's a bit of a mouthful, I do admit, but we try and put up regular content and videos and tools for you. So if you're not already a member of that Facebook group, I'll put in a link and you could join it tonight, and then you can look back at all the lovely content. And of course, tomorrow, Ian, you're going to be doing a live, aren't you, about that?
Well, I actually recorded the video today. So I was down there today and I recorded it, obviously, because I knew I was going to be delivering this tonight, and I thought people would want to see what it was like. So it's just basically as I've picked the keys up. It's more or less, you know, at the very, very start. So it will give people a 5-minute overview, and then as the week goes on, I'm going to be doing regular updates on it. So I'll do a Facebook Live once it's finished.
Great. Okay, great question here from Mark, who says, can the economics work south of the Midlands? Seems to be difficult to get sensible returns in the south, but as an investor living in the south, I would want to be nearby to a project of this size.
So is he looking for returns in the south or the north, Wendy?
Well, he would like to live, I believe, if I'm right, Mark, in interpreting your question, I think he would like to live near to a project that he's going to develop. And in fact, somebody else did ask the question, what's the minimum? I think it was Sarah who asked the question, what's the minimum return you look for? So what's the, you know, the figure that would tip the project into being a yes rather than a no for you, Ian?
I think you know, I don't tend to work on yield too much, but I think if you were looking at a yield, I'd be looking for kind of 12%. But the magic number for myself is return on the capital employed. So if we think of the amount of money that your savings are getting in the bank right now, so 0.01%. So if you have a project on an HMO, let's say you're getting 15% return on capital employed, that's 14.99 times better than you're getting in the bank. So 15-20%. At the minute, some of the deals I'm doing in the southeast, I'm getting 30 plus. Some of the rooms that I'm averaging 700 a room. The auction property, which you know about, Wendy, which I never shared tonight, incidentally, I bought a property at auction. I had to put down 20,000 deposit, and I spent 20 grand in the refurb. You know, once I refinance that, I'll have all my cash back out that deal in 12 months, and that is a deal in the southeast. So the ROI on that and the return on capital employed will be infinite in 12 months' time. So those deals are out there, and you can do them anywhere in the country as long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So another question from Lal. Lal's been some great questions tonight, Lal. Thank you very much for your participation tonight. In fact, I'd like to say thank you to all of you who've sent in questions or contributed on the chat panel. It's been a really lively and great webinar, and thank you so much for asking, because you know, I love sharing my knowledge, and I know Ian does too, and we love helping people. So if this is helping you, we're very, very grateful to you for being here and you know, participating. So, question from Lal. Do we cover on the 2-day event, I think he's asking, how and where to borrow funds to buy the property?
Do you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that?
I'll answer that. So, Lal, the whole of Sunday morning is covering how to raise money from other people. So literally, we spend about 2.5 hours on the Sunday morning going into depth about how to do this. And what I would say is that Ian and I know that right now it's so important that we leverage our money and our time. And I don't mean leverage to the point where you you are only just about covering your costs, because I think it's very important as investors, we are liquid. We need to be liquid. So we don't want to overgear ourselves. But with investors, or savers, I could say, making such a little amount in the bank right now, they are desperate to make money elsewhere. And you could be just the person they're looking for. About 3 days ago, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who I haven't spoken to for probably about a year. She just moved house down to Bath, and we were just having a catch up. And just right at the end of the conversation, out of the blue, she said to me, "Wendy, I've got £85,000 sitting in a bank account and I don't know what to do with it." Well, what would you say to somebody who said, "I've got £85,000 in a bank account, I don't know what to do with it"? The good thing is, because I've done this a few times, I knew what to say to her. And next week we're having a Zoom call and we're talking about the details of the pitch, which I put together. And I'm very hopeful that I will raise another £85,000 for a commercial conversion that we're hoping to do. And these are the kind of methods, the approaches, the scripts, the tools that you'll learn on the 2-day event. And one of our students, Sue, had money of her own to invest with. And she said, "Oh, I don't need to learn how to raise money from other people. I've got my own capital." But Ian and I both said to her, "But it will run out. It will run out. It will run out." And she suddenly realized, the penny dropped, that she had to learn how to do this. And she went away and she had 2 or 3 conversations with friends of hers. And I saw her the following week and she'd raised £200,000 from people. This wasn't joint venture finance. This was cash investment so that she could carry on with her HMO portfolio building. So you need to do it right. You need to do it legally. There is a correct way to do this. And there are some skills that you need to learn. But absolutely, we cover this on the 2-day event because we know it's the fundamental difference that will keep you in having a few properties and having to wait till you get your next properties and being able to really scale up your portfolio.
Let me just change slides, Wendy. Look, let's get everyone looking at this. This is one of my favourite quotes. So you might be thinking of success. HMO success is doing what you want, when you want, where you want, with who you want, as much as you want. That's why we love investing in HMOs.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that's a great quote, isn't it? Right, more questions, Ian.
Go for it.
You're still on fire, which is good.
Yeah.
So, question from Karen. Karen's asked some great questions tonight as well. Thank you. Do you worry if you have or you don't have parking spaces for all residents, or do they in general not have cars?
Great question, Karen. And the answer is yes, you are correct. The majority of them don't have cars. So what's your experience, Wendy? For ours, hardly anyone's got a car.
Absolutely. I would say very, very few of them have a car, mostly because our properties are near to the town or the city centre, so they don't generally need to have a car. Those that do have a car, we often find that there is, if there isn't direct parking outside the property, they'll find somewhere to park nearby. It generally hasn't been too much of a problem. And I actually think coming out of COVID, it's going to be very interesting to see how many people now permanently work from home. So one of the things that we're looking at is how to make sure that our latest refurbs address the needs of tenants who are now working from home. Have we got desks in all the rooms? Have we got fast internet connections? Do some of them want a kettle in the bedroom so they can make themselves a coffee while they're working from home? It's little touches like that when you thought about your marketplace will set you above the competition, and people will rent from you rather than other people as a result. Okay, right. Let's see what else. What other questions we have? I think those are most of them that we've answered now. Have I missed anybody? I've tried to keep up with your questions as we've gone through. We've had some great questions about finance, about mortgages. Message me if I have missed anybody's questions. Okay, so Anne has said some areas need parking for planning though. So what I found when I've had to apply for planning permission for HMOs, that the planning team will, of course, consult with highways. And what they're doing really is saying to highways, do we feel that a unit of accommodation that's going to host 7 or more people, there is sufficient space on the current road if, let's say, they all did have a car. So in some local authority areas, they will write to you a standard letter and say, we require 4 spaces of parking. Now, in my experience, I had this with one council, and I liaised with the planning officer and I said, look, most of our tenants don't actually have HMOs, we don't have cars, and we had evidence for that. But I said, would it be okay if we put a bike rack in the back of the property, in the back of the garden, with a proper cover? It's a proper, nice bike rack with a proper cover. Would that, if you like, substitute for car parking spaces? And they thought about it for a few days and came back and said, yes, that's absolutely fine. If you put that in your planning document and you submit that with your plans, we will accept that in lieu of parking. So I think there are some ways around it, but as always, it's about getting to know the kind of local rules and regulations. Sarah and I have been having a bit of a discussion behind the scenes on Article 4 in Birmingham and how that might affect her as well. Some of these are the details that you'll learn on the 2-day event. We go into the depths of legislation, so you've got all of that at your fingertips when you start to invest. Right, another question here. An HMO mortgage, how fast can you refinance? Would you have to wait 6 months, or would you be able to get a bridging mortgage before an HMO mortgage? So Ian, what do you think about that?
Obviously, it's a great question. I deal quite a lot with Shawbrook, so they're a commercial lender, and they actually do a bridge to let product. So you start off on a bridging loan, and while you're doing the refurb, the product, if you like, lets you to go in and do the refurb, and then at the end you can refinance onto a term product, it's called. So that actual product's called a bridge to let. Normally these bridges are set for kind of 12 months, just in case you hit any delays, so you've got plenty of time to refinance. But if you've got all the finance lined up and all your ducks in a row, depending on, I'm doing that HMO auction one that I did. I used a bridging product on that. I never showed it tonight, obviously. May do in another webinar, but we definitely cover it in our training. And that is, that took me roughly about 8 weeks to finish that, and it never needed like a huge refurb. It just needed painted, decorating, carpets, new kitchen, new bathroom. So I managed to turn that around in kind of 8 weeks. So it all depends how the property you buy and how much work it needs doing. If you want to do it fast, don't do a heavy refurb on it. But obviously, if you want to build something a bit special for the future and it needs a lot of work, then of course it's going to take you longer. But yeah, there's loads of different products out there. The cheapest way to invest right now is to do a creative strategy where you're not putting a lot of money down to secure the property, or using someone else's money. So right now, borrowing someone else's money. Let's just say right now, Wendy had money in the bank and she was getting 0.01%, and I offered her 6%. She would probably be blown away by that. And that's the cheapest borrowing out there. You can just roll that interest up for 12 months, pay at the end when you refinance, and you've got the money secured and you can get in and do the work on it. So there's loads of different ways to do it. Bridging's just one way.
Okay, another question. What sort of interest rates are you looking at on a bridge?
Good question.
What are your latest bridges?
So that is an excellent question. So I've got the 6-bed airport apartments is 0.75 a month, and it was a £3,000 setup fee, but there's no fee to switch it onto a product. And
is that Shawbrook Bridge to Term?
It is, yep. And I'm using Together Money as well. I've done a bridge in the auction property. That was 1% setup fee, so that was £2,000. and I put down some cash on that. So I put down 50% cash. So because they are bridging effectively 50% of the rest of the loan, it's 0.5% a month, and there's no fee to pay the bridge off.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like this is one with bridging, you really need to get a personalised quotation, don't you? Because it all depends on the loan to value. It depends.
Exactly. There's loads of different permutations.
Yeah, there are. So
I personally, right now, if I was thinking about doing this, there's millions of people out there with money looking for a better return, and that is the cheapest way to build a portfolio. I'm sure you'll agree, Wendy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is what we're looking at now as creative strategies. I think you need to understand how to do a lease option, how to use vendor finance, how to use other people's money, because you need all the cash you can get your hands on.
Exactly.
Now we've got one more question before we finish for this evening. Thank you all very much for staying on and listening. It's been great listening to your questions and the discussion. So final one from Karen: how do you find companies to approach, e.g. housing associations? Do you just call or put a proposal to them?
That is another great question, actually. So yeah, you just need to phone, Karen, you need to just phone up the council and you need to ask what the need is. So you're going to become, I don't know if you're an existing HMO landlord or you've got a desire to, but you need to phone up the council and say that, you know, I'm an existing HMO landlord. What problems do you have in your housing that needs solved? That is it. Simple as that. Obviously, if you're looking for companies, best thing to do is drive around some sites that are going to be opening back up doing developments. So any hotels, extensions, you know, if there's a building firm there, they might be looking for rooms. You can look on the planning portal. You can contact companies in LinkedIn. There's loads of things you can do. So the best thing that you can do is leave tonight and think, what is the property problems in my area that I can solve? And if you can solve them, you'll make a lot of money.
Brilliant. Thank you. What a great note to end on. Love it. So can I just say we've sold 3 spaces already for the event at the end of May. So 3 of those packs have already gone. So we've got 2 packs left. We say 7 on this slide, but it's actually 5. We're doing 5 packs tonight. So if you haven't already registered your space for our 2-day HMO intensive, please make sure you do that before 10 p.m. because those packs will go otherwise, and you will not get your free killer HMO starter pack, which is jam-packed full of excellent content that you can use. So thank you very much indeed for being here this evening. It's been great to be with you virtually. Thank you to Ian for hosting.
Thanks a lot, Wendy, and thanks to Wendy as well. It's been great. Thanks for spending your time with us. I hope you got some good value from it. Look out for the video tomorrow, and it'd be awesome to see you on our next event.
Great, lovely. Thanks one and all. See you soon.
Good night.
Bye now.